serving you this evening. I'm so delighted to welcome this evening. I'm especially delighted to welcome each and every one of you, and of course to welcome our special guests in this very special event, the Heart of Compassion. This is a conversation between two extraordinary individuals, two faith communities with hearts full of compassion. This evening's event was made possible by a number of very hardworking individuals that I'd like to just take a moment to acknowledge real quickly. First of all, again, the beautiful musicians Saul David Ray and the Ananda Kirtan Band for their amazing music. Govinda's Restaurant, Savas Prabhu and Sri Sachi for organizing the vegan hors d'oeuvres downstairs. We have Suresh Prabhu on video and Nikki on Facebook Live. Thank you guys. All the donors, thank you so much. There's too many to name. All the volunteers, you know who you are. Thank you for being so patient with us and just helping us get this evening ready. The video to teacher trainers, thank you guys for being here. A special thank you to Nandini Kishore for keeping my head on my shoulders this last week and preparing for this event. Thank you, Nandini. For Tantris Yoga, all of the employees, for Britton, Kari, and for them trusting me in holding this event and really just allowing grace to flow through. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Tantris. And a great huge thank you to Leslie Simmons. Leslie Simmons, really without you help creating this space, this evening would not be possible. So for me, this is a very personal share. These two legends, these two men of deep faith, who really serve as role models, as guides, as exemplaries for so many people all around the world. I feel so honored to share this evening with everyone and with all of you. Both Russell Simmons and Radhanath Swami have published memoirs, and in preparation for this evening, I've had to read some of these memoirs and just notice so many parallels and contrasts between their life stories. Russell, I didn't know you were such a rascal when you were younger. But without further ado, let's give a great big round of applause for our special guests, Radhanath Swami and Russell Simmons. Before we get started, I'd like to just give a little brief introduction. How many of you is your first time to Tantris Yoga? Oh. Right. Russell, would you like to lead us in the Tantris invocation?
Oh, we all. Loka.
Loka.
Samasta.
Samasta.
Sukhino.
Sukhino.
Bhavantu. We've all said that before.
All beings everywhere be happy and
It's
free.
a yogi's commitment. Right? That's our commitment. That's our invocation for our classes. I'll say a bit about Tantris. Been practicing for over 20 years. We have a mutual friend who is a big inspiration, friends, Sharon and David from Jiva Mukti. And it was a devotional studio that I practiced in New York, and where I first read the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita and the Pradipika and these books, and it was what I thought yoga was. I mean, and then I went out into the world and found that not too many places that practice asana taught yoga. And then I thought, they teach asana but not yoga. And the teachers are not necessarily trained in scripture, and they're not devotees, they're like gym teachers sometimes. Not bad, it's a good start, but I thought that with all the yoga studios, and I fell in love with the heat. I like practicing in the heat. And then really, if there was a void before that in terms of devotional places, in the heat there were none. So if you like to practice in the heat, unless you go to India.
Or Brazil.
Huh?
Or Brazil.
Or perhaps Brazil, you won't get any, you won't learn any yogic science. So I wanted to build a school of yogic science where we could, and then also to make it very accessible, because even at Jiva Mukti sometimes and other places where the devotees show up, it's for them only. But hot yoga is for everyone, right? For 300 million people practicing asana, mostly just practicing asana, which is good because it leads you, but there's more. And so we try to make a very accessible way to deliver yoga. Play a lot of devotional music, a lot of fun music. Krishna Das and Kendrick Lamar. So we try to make a place that it's inviting, but yet the devotees can come and learn, and that's what we're going to talk about, yoga, right? That's all we can talk about. That's all everyone wants is yoga, so that's what we're here for.
Well, I heard when you were younger that all you wanted to talk about was music. Your brother said, oh, Russell just wouldn't shut up about music. He said, hey, we talk about something else. He said, no, what is there else to talk about? It's just music.
Cocaine.
Okay, so my first question is, well, let me give you a little opening. There are particular qualities that are inherent within our nature. Qualities like love, gratitude, and compassion. But to awaken their full potential, we have to practice, right? The same way if we want to get into a particular yoga pose, we actually have to practice getting into the pose. We have to start doing it over and over, repetition, start building the muscles and the strength to hold that pose. Well, if we want to have gratitude in our life, we have to practice being grateful. If we want love in our life, we have to practice being love. And if we want compassion in our life, we have to practice being compassionate. So, my question is, when did you start developing a heart of compassion? Who or what inspired it? And what could you recommend for those of us, if we wanted to start tomorrow, one thing that we could add that would make the biggest difference to our daily routine to cultivate a heart of compassion?
I think you begin at birth, and then you go off track a little bit sometimes, and you're always off track a little bit. But you learn to remember what's in your heart through practice. But then you find, sometimes experience with choices, like you'll find that morning meditation beats late night drinking. Sometimes you have to drink a lot to discover how beautiful it is to wake up with clarity and to meditate then. It's so much nicer than late night drinking, right? So you have the experiences, and then, you always are learning to walk in order, like it or not. You can walk off to the side, you scrape your arms on the wall, and then you're forced to walk in order. So you find it out sooner or later. I'm one who recommends someone repeats to you what you know in your heart as much as possible. We have a great teacher here, was actually my first teacher, Steve Ross. And he went through so much. He was a monk, he had all his experiences. You must know Steve Ross. And he teaches us, go out in the world, you'll learn. But I'm always one who says, well, remind them what's in the sutras. They know it, but remind them. And so I think that this idea of moving towards God or moving towards a happier place is something that as you learn it's right, you do it. You always do what's right for you. As much as you have faith in this idea that, if you do devotional work, if you practice asana and think of God, if you do these things, you will be happier, you will move, and when you believe it, you do it. We don't have total faith in what we think we know, because if we did, we'd be enlightened, because we all know it's etched inside us. Our spirits are crystal clear and beautiful, but we don't know the spirit, or we would just live up to it. So our job to dig becomes more and more apparent as we suffer or we have experience. So that's just our job. We have no other, there's no other job but to move towards yoga. And we forget it, so we have to remember to remember.
Thank you. Radhanath Swami?
Thank you. Very grateful to you, Russell, making this wonderful place for all of us. Thank you. So David Ray, thank you, and to everyone assembled. The most inherent need for every living being is to love and to be loved. Things could give some sense of satisfaction to the mind and senses, but they can never touch the heart. It's only to love and to be loved that can give fulfillment to the heart. This love is what our first experience of life is. We're completely dependent on the love of our mothers, our fathers. And as we grow, we learn to love. And that love is expressed through compassion. When I was young, when I would see my parents or my grandparents suffering, I suffered with them. We had a little pet dog. When that dog was suffering, I suffered. When I saw a movie and there was somebody who was really suffering in it, it awakens that propensity of compassion within us. It's our deepest need. It's who we are. And as I grew, I realized more and more that as this sense of compassion expands, it becomes more real and more fulfilling. To our friends, in my life, my father went bankrupt when I was a little boy, so I was working jobs. And at one time, everyone working with Gary and myself, Gary's my old friend that I grew up with, he's here. They were from the African American community, from the ghettos of the south side of Chicago. In the early 1960s, they really were in a hopeless state, beaten down by poverty. I felt compassion for them. And we joined the Civil Rights Movement. I was seeing the news of what was going on in Vietnam during that war. The elder brothers of my friends were going. Some were being wounded, some were being killed. People on both sides of that war. So much suffering for something that didn't make any sense. So I joined the counterculture. As time went on, I came to a conclusion that unless I change myself, it's very superficial what I could do to change the world through demonstrations, through marching, through activism. And I believed that that change was spiritual. But then I was faced with another crossroads. So much hate and arrogance in the name of a loving God. But to the core of my heart, I believed that the essence of all these great spiritual traditions, there was something that was common. In my travels, I studied various spiritual paths. And I came to this conclusion, that at the heart of each spiritual tradition, the true followers, they learn how to discover a love within themselves that is expressed in compassion. The Bible tells to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Everyone is our neighbor. Whatever the color, whatever the sex, whatever the religion, whatever the nationality, whatever the species. Life is sacred. To be grateful for what we've been given is expressed through compassion. When I was living in India, I heard from the Bhagavad Purana a beautiful verse, that when you put water in the root of a tree, it naturally extends to every part of the tree. The leaves, the flowers, the twigs, the branches. And similarly, when we find that love within our own heart, our love for the Supreme Being, or God, when that awakens, that love extends to every living being. In Sanskrit, karuna is often translated as compassion. Karuna is not just a feeling. It's a feeling that is activated by a genuine concern. It's compassion that is thoughtful, that is committed. Compassion is when we put aside our egoistic, selfish concerns for the well-being of other beings. When we truly recognize who we are, we recognize our relationship with everyone, with everything. There's no greater need in the world, there has never been and there never will be, than compassion. Whether we're doctors or lawyers or yoga teachers or engineers or farmers or educators or swamis, if we're motivated with compassion, if we're motivated with that love of God and being an instrument of that love, our life is truly beautiful and meaningful. I forgot your question, but I hope
I think you hit it right on. The second part to that question was, if we wanted to start practicing compassion tomorrow, what is the one thing that would make the biggest difference in implementing into our daily routine?
Well, each person is different, I think. There are 8 limbs in yoga. Some people lean more heavily on one than the other, more often than not. You know, they're all the shots simultaneously. We choose them all, but we lean more heavily on one than the other. One person likes to sing kirtan, next person likes to meditate. I always think that meditation is the great tool, because it's, of all the tools, most would agree that this is the best way to study the self. I like to believe that for me, that's the best way. I believe that for me, that's the best way to, by knowing the self, then you have all the compassion. You know the self would be, it was interesting, we had Deepak Chopra here 2 weeks ago. And the reason we call it the School of Yogic Science, because we believe that it's a cause and effect. In the Yoga Sutras, is do this, get that. And no faith required. You do this and I promise you, you will get that. Practice yoga, asana every day and sit with us at our short meditations and listen to our rap constantly and go out happier. You practice asana daily, you're happier. You practice yoga regularly, you're happier. So it's cause and effect. Did I lose a question? I took a lot of drugs as a child. No, but this idea, you know, so for everybody it's different. Very different for everybody, you know. But meditation, you know, the more you know the self, and you come, he said, to compassion for all living beings. The Deepak's the quantum physicist. That's how I even came to want to one day name a studio, a school for yogic science, because I remember I was telling the Swami, I went to speak about, I don't know how many years ago, I wrote a book about, and it was called Super Rich, which I'm going to give you all a copy when you leave. But the state of needing nothing, this beautiful yogic state, Christ consciousness, nirvana, samadhi, you know, this whole book about, then this guy's talking, And I realized Deepak's a scientist. There's a bunch of people in suits in here, they're taking notes, and I'm going to speak next. And I'm like, what he's even talking about? And this guy's talking and talking, I don't know what he's saying. And then finally he says something that rings the bell. I'm like, oh shit. So I get on the stage, I say, what's your book about? It's the same thing he said. The quantum physicist that was speaking for a long time, but finally it rang a bell, something he said, and I knew that it was about this connectivity, about the sameness. Sameness is one thing, but that we are one thing. At the end of the day, my books are about, if God were the ocean, we'd be cups of God, all made up of the same elements, all the same, and all part of one big living, breathing entity. With that knowledge, when you know the self, then that union, that realization comes with that. And then the compassion that we talk about, and then it becomes natural because that animal, that person of a different is you. So if you know yourself, you know that she is me. So there's a practice to get, so more and more she becomes me as we, enlighten it, like who's the ball of light in here? We're struggling, all of us, to know that we are one. This is a struggle, it's an ongoing process and practice to dig to the self so we can know each other as well. From knowing the self, we love each other. From knowing the self, they say this month, compassion is the theme. You know that, we taught all month compassion. So if compassion is our theme, how do we get there? It's through studying the self. And then this idea, we say in its initial stages, we should learn to understand their suffering so that we could be compassionate towards them. But when their suffering is us, then it's natural. When we know ourselves, we know them, we suffer with them, we accept this sameness. Did I answer the question? I did. Not appropriately, I answered it.
Radhanath Swami?
You have to repeat the question.
The question is what we're supposed to do. My beloved Guru, Srila Prabhupada, he cited from the Vedic scriptures a phrase, Paradukkha Dukhi, that the true character of an enlightened person is that that person sees another person's suffering as my own suffering, and another person's happiness as my own happiness. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells, Vidyavanaya sampane brahmani kavihastini suni chaiva svapake cha pandita samatarsha. True wisdom, true enlightenment is not just how much we memorize or how many people follow us. It's the capacity to see every living being with equal vision. To see the environment as the sacred property of God. And to see every living being, aham bija pradapita, from all species of life, as children of God. And to the degree we actually recognize that within ourselves, it becomes our nature. Within our tradition, there's 4 principles that help us to actually awaken that spirit. The first is satsang. Satsang means to be in the company of people who truly inspire us. Because we're so much affected by who we're with. I remember when Gary and I were little children, the greatest concern of our mother and father is who we were with. And to be honest with you, they loved Gary, but they didn't like me to be with him. once we reached our teenage years. I don't know how much his parents liked it to be. But we're very much affected by who we're with. Show me who you associate with, I'll tell you who you are. It's a great saying. Satsang is when we're with people who are committed to spiritual enlightenment, who share this purpose in our life, who encourage our faith, and who give us support. The Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, these recovery programs, it's been tested and proved that being in a company of like-minded people protect us and enthuse us. And this is the age-old foundational principle for spiritual life. To be with people who follow the path with us or inspire us. And with that inspiration, we have enough faith to give quality time aside every day to our spiritual practice. If we don't have that faith, why would we put time in that? Every moment we have, we could be making more money or making more friends or having more pleasures. But in good association, we recognize that the most important thing in my life is to know myself, to know God, to feel real peace, and to discover the love within me. And then we make it a priority. We may have many priorities. We have a family, perhaps. We have an occupation. We have social obligations. We have health concerns. But we should not neglect our spiritual needs. It should be a priority in our life to put some special time aside for our sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice, meditation, prayer, puja. In my tradition that I follow, this chanting of mantras. We chant this Hare Krishna mantra. It's a meditation, and the mantra, it cleanses the heart to reveal the truth within us. When we have a foundation of nice association and a spiritual practice, then the rest of the day we build on that foundation. From satsang and sadhana comes sadachar, which means character. Where we're really striving to transform arrogance into humility, greed into generosity, vengeance into forgiveness, hate into love. Where we have a deep enough inner experience and a high enough purpose that we do not compromise our sacred ideals due to temptations or fears. And in this spirit, seva. In this spirit we live to serve. To serve by helping others to overcome their suffering. Helping others to connect with the real happiness, the real peace, the real love that they're seeking. Material, emotional, and spiritual, we're there to serve. Satsang, sadhana, sadachar, and seva. These four principles help us to actually awaken the truth that we're all seeking. The love of God within.
Thank you. That was such a beautiful answer. Okay, the next question is, since you have both dedicated your life to some aspect of compassion, if not your entire life. And forgive me for asking this, but do you ever find days where you're challenged to act from a place of compassion? And if so, would you be willing to share at least one example?
Every single day. Less and less, but every day. Not all day, every day. Almost all day, every day. It used to be all day, every day. Satsang, sadhana, these ideas, and there's science, right? He just laid out these 4 principles. There's good and virtuous company. Gives rise to, how's that prayer that we always, but yeah, good and virtuous company is helpful, and being surrounded by good people is helpful, and these studying, singing, and mantras are helpful. You shift a little bit. You feel it, right? Like I said, if you practice daily, you become happier, right? You let go of some of the suffering, the noise. We know that a quiet mind is happiness and a noisy mind is sickness, right? Separation is, sickness. Isolation is a sickness, right? So we know these things, and we're learning to obey them more often. Not because there's a whip on your head. It makes you happy. It's a real connectivity grows through this practice. You become more and more free from neediness, right? Needing things to be different, right? We could say that was the cause of suffering, right? Needing nothing could be a state of bliss. We want to try to get rid of them all the time in this place, this lack of compassion that we sometimes experience. We walk past people and they're starving, throw $20 at them, or 10. You have change? When he says, you have change, why are you staying? No, you have change. This is our job. We do it, it's like in asana. What do you do in asana? You smile in difficult poses. When you want to curse the teacher, you smile. Like, what? You want me to do what? When's Shavasana? But you practice. So I'm practicing. And every day I'm practicing, and one day I won't have to practice. Not in this lifetime, most likely, but I'm practice. Practice makes perfect eventually.
Practice doesn't always make perfect, it's a
Well, you may not have the pose right, but this idea of smiling in this difficult pose, I got an alternative pose, but I'm smiling, and I'm fully awake in a second, and it's perfect. It doesn't look perfect to the teacher. She's like, where's your back? Why are you? I'm like, that's perfect. It comes. Anyway. I don't know if I answered the question either, but I did, right? You asked me, am I suffering all the time? And I said most of the time, and not as much as before.
Radhanath Swami?
You're asking if I get challenged with compassion. Every moment.
Thank God.
Well, not really. Because we have free will. And there are limitless alternatives at every moment of how to think, what to say, what to do. And that's a challenge. There's a book called Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, where there's a beautiful statement. When I read it, I remember this is just what I need to hear. I think I was really being challenged that day. And the statement is spoken by Sri Chaitanya. He said, challenges and impediments are my best friends. Now I was thinking, how is that? Because when we're challenged, we realize how much we need a higher power than our own self to overcome this challenge. A real challenge is not something that's easy. That's not really a challenge. If something is easy, we just do it. But when we're tested, we have the opportunity to humble ourselves. And in that humility, we recognize we need a higher power than our own little intelligence and a higher power than our own little abilities to help. And in that state, we're grateful for that higher power. And we recognize how in my free will, I'm responsible to make the right choice. We also recognize how much I need that spiritual practice of mine to have the strength to overcome these challenges. In India, where I live, we have the monsoon rainy season. And nobody can stop the monsoons, but you know they're going to come. And you prepare yourself so that when it does come, you have a nice roof over your house and you might have a nice umbrella too. So similarly, we know the challenges are going to come. And we prepare ourselves through our sadhana, through our satsang, through humbling ourselves to that higher power of God's grace. And if challenges didn't come every day, we wouldn't recognize the need. When you're hungry, you have the power to digest. The Ayurveda teaches that the most important thing for our health is digestion. Without digestions, we cannot assimilate the nutrients in food. But digestion means hunger. When there's challenges, we feel a certain type of hunger, we feel a certain type of need. And then we take our sadhana, our spiritual practice, much more seriously. We take the company of other people much more seriously. We take the grace of God within us and within every being more seriously. And in that way, it is true that challenges are our best friends.
Thank you. The last question has to do with both of you have achieved a tremendous amount of success in sharing your passion of compassion with the world. Is there anything that you would like to see happen in your lifetime, or anything else that you would like to achieve?
That's a very direct question, because I didn't know what that was before, and it's really a high aspiration. You know, I've been involved in many trendy things. There was a moment where there was a Tony Award for poetry. It's kind of a, development, that people express themselves through poetry. Would win a Tony and have a show that was the longest running show, and a lot of people express themselves because it became more popular. Putting a chorus on a rap record was a moment, being part of a movement with it. affected the world, being part of that movement. I've had a lot of experiences like that. I had, developed a financial service that became much bigger than not only my company, but I could ever believe. People needed it. And so I've been involved in things that have set trends. And now what I said about Tantris, it was the aspiration that, and even the choice, I said, put it next to Soho House. I gave Oprah once a book, The Power of Now. And she got so many people to meditate. And I gave Ellen DeGeneres a book and sent her and Bob Roth to meditate. You know Bob Roth, right? From the Maharishi group, the David Lynch Foundation, sent him to Oprah. She taught her to meditate. She taught people, and then she made Eckhart famous. So people with big mouths make a difference, right? That's why I'm so busy filming him. Like, he's probably like, why are you playing on that social media? I know you thought that. Because maybe that's my role, to try to get yoga to be more commercial. To get a moment where all the 300 million people who are practicing, throwing their bodies around, most of them, really just get a little more yoga. And if all the yoga studios have a little mantra that they begin with, all of the yoga studios say, read the Yoga Sutras, read the Bhagavad Gita. And all people start talking about yoga. It's always meaningful. I don't discount the pleasure and the spiritual growth one has from just physical asana, right? But if your mind is on the infinite when you're practicing, that's the combination, right? And if we can make that the trend, teaches, the scriptures are there for a reason. They're useful in reminding us of what we should know and what we do know, what's etched inside us. So I just, would really like to be part of a movement where people practice yoga in all of these studios. We get commercial, they get commercial, it all gets commercial, all gets pop. And if I could be part of that, that would be, to lay down now, except kids, I gotta take care of the kids. Just disappear now, but that would be like an amazing accomplishment to be part of that movement. The Swami gets really pop. Right? And his books, everybody reads his books. Right? That would be amazing. It's true. Everybody read your books. That'd be amazing.
It's just overwhelmed me so much I forgot your question.
What do you want to be when you grow up? What would you like to accomplish?
What would you like?
Grow up.
You don't want to grow up. I mean, you know what I mean.
There is a wonderful movie at a theater in Santa Monica. It's called Hare Krishna. What is the
movement, the mantra, and the Swami who started it all.
Yeah. Please go to see that movie if possible. It's really wonderful. But it's about our Guru, Prabhupada, and how at the age of 69 he had this calling of compassion. He was feeling people suffering in continents that he had never been. He left a holy place in India, Vrindavan, on a cargo ship, 38 days at sea. At the beginning of his trip he had heart attacks and seasickness. When he arrived in New York City, he had no money, he had no friends. Lived in the Bowery, later the Lower East Side. Why did he go and why did he stay? Because there was compassion. Because he was feeling this love for God, who he called Krishna. And he wanted to share that, not in a sectarian way, because God has many names, but as the supreme ultimate object of everyone's love. And when we yoga is the science of cleansing our hearts and living in harmony with God, with the environment, and with each other. And seeing his compassion. My goal in life when I grow up is just to try to assist in this mission of compassion. A mission that has been embodied by all the saints of all the traditions throughout history. And to see people actually become truly happy. To see one person, another person, and in our dream, every person, to taste that sweetness of that love. And to taste the joy of sharing that love in whatever we do. It's a science. It's a way of life. In every aspect of yoga is meant to gradually or quickly bring us to that space in our own hearts where our soul can shine with the light of that compassion. If in my life I could help even one person to understand this a little better and to be happier, I'll consider that a gift of God upon me.
The evening wouldn't be complete without a little bit of kirtan. You guys like to hear some kirtan? All right. We're going to just do a little transition here, get the harmonium set up. Please don't go anywhere. Just hang tight for a couple moments.
May I teach you a special asana? We call this the Sharanagati asana. And Kamudana, you could demonstrate how to do it. As I'm singing, please put your hands together like this, pranams. Because this Nam Namakari Bahuta Nija Sarva Shaktis. That all the beauty, the sweetness, the power, the grace of God is within the name. So we're welcoming our Supreme Beloved into our hearts as we're hearing this transcendental vibration of the mantra. Everyone like this. And as we respond by chanting, please raise your arms very high. Sharanagati, it's a mood of seeking shelter. It's a mood of celebrating, reaching out for that higher power of grace. And can you show everyone how to dance by putting your right foot in front of your left and your left foot in front of your right? Everyone who wishes to do so, please stand up and do like this. Everyone, please stand up. Left foot in front of right, right foot in front of left. And with great feeling, very loudly, let us chant. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasudi Gauranga Hare Krishna
Still filming?
Hare Krishna
Still want to get
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Please raise your hands very high. voice, with one heart, let us chant one more time together. Let us fill the world with our prayer, with our devotion, to be instruments of compassion as we chant this beautiful song. Raise your arms, please. Close your eyes and let us chant very loudly. Everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare one more time, with all our hearts, 10 million times louder, please. Everyone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare May we do one more time. In this troubled world of confusion, of greed, of exploitation, let us invoke compassion, love. Let us invoke grace upon all. Trillion times louder, please. Everyone. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Thank you very much.
So what? Turn it on. Once again, we just want to thank, I'm Kari, by the way, one of our partners and the Managing Director of Tantris. We want to thank you guys all again for coming out and sharing this beautiful night with us. And as a special thank you, we're going to extend a free week of yoga to everyone who attends tonight. So all you have to do is show your ticket or just mention that you were here tonight, and we'll take your word for it, and we'll give you guys a free week. So enjoy that. And then Super Rich is downstairs at the cash ups as well, for you guys to take that, a copy of that. So thank you all again. Thanks so much, Radha. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And thank you to Julie.
We also have a couple of book stand downstairs with The Journey Home and The Journey Within, so please grab a copy if you haven't already. Visit the book tables. Thank you guys so much. Love you. Peace. Namaste.